Hello, my name is Emily Teacher, and today we're going to read The Iceman. The date was September 19th, 1991. A German couple returning from a day of hiking in the 10,000-foot high Otstadler region of the Alps made a gruesome discovery. The head and shoulders of a body protruded from the glacial ice in a shallow trench in the rock. With the nose and upper lip twisted to the side, the face was set in a terrible grimace. The couple believed that they had discovered some unfortunate hiker. They reported their find at the mountain lodge where they were spending the night. So, this article is all about the Iceman. So, this is a very interesting article about a discovery that this German couple made when they were hiking in the mountainside. They found this head and shoulders of a frozen person with the face making a terribly uncomfortable face, right? This really bad grimace. So they thought they had found someone who had met a horrible demise when they were hiking. So let's find out really what the Iceman was and more about it. The first endeavors by mountain rescuers to free the body were unsuccessful. The location was remote, and winter weather was beginning. A day or two later, the police asked medical experts from Innsbruck to assist in the recovery. Flying by helicopter to the site, they proceeded in a gingerly manner to chip away the ice until the body was free. Quickly placing it in a plastic body bag, they had it transported to Innsbruck for examination. So it was really hard to get this out of the ground because the ice around it had been frozen. Winter was starting, so everything was really, really cold and still really, really frozen. So they ended up having to bring more people in, slowly chip away at the ice very carefully and gingerly. And then they finally brought the body back for examination. There it was stored in a freezer that simulated the conditions on the mountain. At the same time, an inventory of the objects found with or near the body was taken. Because of some of these items appeared to be at least 100 years old and to have historical significance, scientists at the University of Innsbruck were consulted. When they estimated that the find was 4,000 years old, everyone was astounded. Further tests established that the remains were actually 5,300 years old, an age later corroborated by tests at several independent institutions. So it turned out that this body was not just some hiker that got lost, but it was actually an ancient body of a person that had been perfectly frozen for 5,300 years, approximately. And they noticed some of the items that were on the body or near the body seemed to be really old and at least 100 years old. But it turns out that the whole thing was much older than they expected. Scientists were electrified by the discovery. Not only would they be able to study the man's body, but they also would be able to derive information from his clothing and equipment about the age in which he had lived. The late Neolithic period or late Stone Age. A cursory examination of the body showed it to be in a remarkable state of preservation. Scientists believe that soon after the man succumbed to the cold, his body was dehydrated by the dry, icy winds of the high Alps. Subsequently, it was buried in snow, which filled the trench. As time passed, this turned into packed ice, sealing the body and protecting it from harmful exposure to the air. So now, scientists are really excited, right? They can study the body of the ancient man, right? They can also study all of the things and the clothes that were with him. So they can learn about what life was like, right? How people survived in the time when he was alive. So it's really difficult for something to get preserved this way, especially in nature. So because the Alps has very dry, icy wind, they believe that after he had frozen to death, that wind helped to dehydrate, take all the water out of the body. And then he was covered in snow, which got packed down and down and down and turned to ice, preserving his body. Further investigation revealed several interesting details. From the abrasion of his front teeth and the wear on his joints, Scientists estimated the man's age at death to have been somewhere between 30 and 40 years. His height was just over 5 feet. He had been clad in neatly sewn deerskin garments, with a grass cape to keep out the cold. With him were an axe with a long wooden handle, an unfinished bow, and a leather quiver filled with arrows. He also had a small leather pouch containing a flint scraper, some arrow tips, and a small knife. So, scientists estimated this person's age to have been maybe between 30 and 40 years old when he died. And he had a lot of really interesting things with him, right? He had a really nice outfit made of deerskin, um, and a grass cape. He had this axe with a wooden handle, a bow, and arrows. And he also had a leather pouch that had a flint scraper for making fires, right? Some arrow tips, and a small knife. At first, scientists were puzzled by several tattoos on the man's body, a blue cross on the back of one knee, and a number of small parallel lines grouped together on his back and ankles. But examinations indicated that in each of these places, the man's joints and bones showed wear or injury. Then scientists surmised that the markings may have been associated with some kind of primitive medical treatment. So he had tattoos on his body, but all the tattoos were behind some kind of injury. So they think maybe they used tattoos in that time to do some kind of medical treatment that they assumed worked. In 2016, a team of scientists thawed the body to make possible a more complete examination. They worked quickly, and afterward, the body was frozen again to preserve it. An arrowhead was found buried in the Iceman's left shoulder that had pierced a major artery. Death would have followed very quickly. The contents of his stomach showed that he enjoyed a large meal and was digesting it when he was taken by surprise from a shot from behind. So they found out after defrosting the body a bit before they re-preserved it, there was an arrow near the man's major artery in his shoulder. So major arteries, right, that's where most of your blood goes through your body. So if you get pierced in a major artery, you would bleed out very quickly and die very quickly. So this was the way that the man had died after eating a large meal. Otzi, as the Iceman is called, has given us a revealing glimpse of life in the late Stone Age. Both his well-preserved body and the clothing and tools that were with him are unique remains of a time before writing or cities had come into existence. So we read all about Otzi, the Iceman, right? So from just this one person finding this well-preserved body, scientists have learned so much about the late Stone Age and what people were like, what society was like, how they lived, and about their history. So very interesting what we can learn from what might be frozen in the ground. Thank you for reading with me today. We do have links that are related to each of these articles. If you want links for this article here, you can find them down in the description below.